What's up, everyone? I'm Andy Coronado, and tonight I'm joined by my three amigos crew, Elias Grigoriadis and Hattie Rafael. Love it! I say a name and the wrong person comes out. Welcome to episode 262 of The Ball is Round. How are you guys doing today?
I'm just
Yeah, we're
shutting down
fine,
my
man. We're
mic
fine.
because I
We're
can't.
pumped.
I love that energy. Hattie,
Yeah.
how much time in this show are we gonna have Elias on camera?
I would say 5 to 10 minutes.
Then it's just gonna
Well,
go
it's gonna be
blank.
longer. It's gonna be longer than Andy.
That's
So
what she
bye,
said.
Andy.
All right, we
He just shut him up. I love it.
Great, go on, guys. Go on. Go on with the show. All right. I'm the one animating. So we know emotions are running high with the Habs game 7 tonight against
Buffalo Sabres.
who cares? Doesn't matter. We just know it's a game 7 for the Habs, and we know that those who are joining us tonight are very excited. We're excited as well. But first, soccer, right? So we look, we're back in the Canadians too. But before the puck drops, we're going to go ahead and break down the Canadians men's national team squad ahead of the World Cup, now just 24 days away. Then we'll wrap things up by recapping Rose FC draw against Calgary Wild, plus CF Montreal's recent performances against the Portland Timbers and Chicago Fire. A packed show tonight. So let's stop wasting time and get right into the action. What do you guys say?
Let's do it.
We're going to start with the Canadian men's national team. The big event, as I mentioned, is 24 days away. But I just have an honest question. And I want you guys to be honest with me, okay? How are you guys feeling about the hype heading into the World Cup right now? Because, you talk about it every 4 years, right? There's so much to it. There's commercials, music. There's the, I forgot what they call it, but they have the magazines where you put the cards in and all that. The collecting.
Panini.
Yes,
I just
sorry, they have a
ordered
name for it. I forgot about it. But do you guys feel that the hype is there still for this World Cup, or is there maybe too much political tension going on?
Fuck this shit, man. No.
No, we're not past 5 minutes.
Man.
Stop cursing.
I don't care. No. Honestly, I hate the bad press around the World Cup. And it's been happening for the past 2, 3, 4 editions where there's bad press. There are people talking about the bad shit around the game and around the competition. At the end of the day, during the competition, everybody's really pumped up. Fans are there from everywhere. They all have fun. They all have a lot of great stories. And honestly, I'm pumped up. I cannot wait for this World Cup to start. I am so hyped. You can't even imagine how much. I ordered, of course, my panini. The first time I did paninis was in 1994, and I have every one of them since 1994. Not filled up, but still, it's very expensive, but it's worth it because I love it. No, honestly, it's the greatest event in the world. Like, people can't really imagine what it is. And yeah, I cannot wait for it to start.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'm excited about it as well, Elias. I'm sure you're excited about it as well. But I'm talking from the everyday Joe that here in Canada that doesn't watch soccer ever. That's probably so caught up with the Habs thing, hockey or whatever. Do you think there's that same hype as like, oh my God, the World Cup, and it's here? And it's not just Canada, obviously, it's shared with the US and Mexico. But is there that hype for the everyday Joe that the World Cup is here?
It's important to remember that we're not in a World Cup city, right? As big of a soccer market that Montreal is, we're not in a World Cup city, so we're not seeing it plastered on every single street corner, every single sign, every ad, every 30 seconds. So we're not getting bombarded as much as other cities are. It's just a fact, right? We still get a lot because we are a soccer market, and so people will obviously be advertising in Montreal, but not nearly as much as if we were hosting a game. So I think that probably has something to do with it. Another thing that has to do with it is just the fact that, when people had issues with Qatar, people had issues with Russia. This year, it's a very similar thing. But again, this is also FIFA kind of shooting themselves in the foot on a number of different things. That again, it's not that it's bad publicity, but it's stuff that has never happened before that is actively making their lives more difficult, and it's all self-inflicted. We're talking about ticket prices, we're talking about over politicizing coddling up to controversial political figures, right? And it's stuff like that they've never had to do and they've never done before that they're doing now to Americanize the World Cup. The halftime show. Nobody cares about the halftime show. No, you see the Super Bowl and how with Bad Bunny or Kendrick Lamar, the viewership spiked. It's going to be the opposite. No one's going to be watching that.
Well, that's not what
Yeah.
Infantino said,
It's
right?
the war-
Infantino said that.
Oh yeah, because Giovanni Infantino is
Yeah.
the high archduke of all correctness. But like I like, especially because it's Chris Martin. Like, yeah, okay, Coldplay is cool, but like people are not going to be going out of the 3 billion people watch the World Cup.
Yeah, and I
You think
just want to
3
add
billion
on
people are
that.
going to watch Chris Martin play music? No.
Exactly. I just want to add on that. Usually, in
Don't
the
you dare
culture-
talk
in the
about
soc-
Coldplay like that.
In the soccer culture, usually, when you watch a game, the fun is the game, and halftime is just a break from the fun, right? Like you don't wait for halftime to have fun, right? So, so usually when you're halftime, you're like, okay, man, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, I'm gonna prepare something to eat, just so I'm able to watch the second half, right? Like this is the culture. This is the culture around the game. So I completely agree with Elias. The halftime is like, honestly, it's just a break. That's it. It's nothing more. So you can bring whoever you want. You can bring whoever you want. And the only people that are going to enjoy it are the people that are not really interested about the game. And usually, unfortunately, like the purists, they don't really care about it.
And like
Yeah.
if you brought an artist that is internationally renowned and it is linked with football culture, it's a different story. Coldplay's cool, but sorry, Andy, but Coldplay is not going to have people from all over the world watching. Like when Bad Bunny was playing, I was glued to my TV more than during the actual game of the Super Bowl because I'm not.
Okay,
a big
let's talk
football
about
fan,
that, though.
But I'm a big Bad Bunny fan. If they brought Bad
No.
Bunny, people would show up again. But that's a different world entirely. If they had like Shakira, who's been linked with every World Cup
Gerard
anthem
Piqué.
for the last like 15 years, right? We're not gonna get into that.
Sorry.
But like if you had someone
Let's get
like
political,
that,
guys.
where
It's not
they have
political.
they have a link to footballing culture, it's a different story.
Yeah.
But this just feels like another cash grab and another place to just sell ads.
But
And so I
see,
think everyone
yeah.
kind of saw what it was right away because that's all it's being talked as.
But if you, I'm just playing the devil's advocate because I understand what you guys are saying, right? I don't, the whole Chris Martin thing and all that's, it's fun. But the reason why I brought that Gianni Infantino said, I want every game is going to be the Super Bowl is because when he says that kind of stuff, if you look at the Super Bowl, who's actually watching the Super Bowl? Who's actually watching the game? It's the
Americans.
football fans. But the rest of those billions and trillions of ratings that they're getting on TV are not football fans necessarily. Like Elias said, he's watching it because he's a Bad Bunny fan. I'm a Chris Martin fan, so I guess I'll stick through the game but I'll stick to really watching Chris Martin. Again, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying if you put yourself that lens of business, Super Bowl, everything has to be bright lights all the time, every single game, regardless who the teams are, you can expect that. And it's kind of what makes the NFL run, if we're gonna go there, right?
That's amazing. And honestly, you know what? I understand what Infantino is trying to do. He's trying to, in a way, to be attractive to the American people because the World Cup is going to be played in the States, and that's completely understandable. They're trying to adapt to their own environment. I completely understand, but across the world, they don't really care, man. They really don't. Honestly, like I'm Lebanese, right? And I came here in 2001. Okay, before I came here, I didn't even know what the Super Bowl was. It was nothing for me. Like football, American football was nothing for me because I don't have that culture there. And I'm talking about Lebanon, but like most of the Arab countries, all of the Arab countries, it's the same. There's a whole other word out there. And the World Cup is that link between all these people. Everybody watches the World Cup across the world. It's not an American thing like the Super Bowl. So we're on a different planet here, right? Yeah. Now, the ratings are, unfortunately, like Elias said, something that's Americanized. Yeah. We're going to get the best ratings and whatever. Across the world, they don't care, man. They just want to watch football.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but also Europe has Americanized certain things about their
Oh
sport
yeah,
as well. You
for
know,
sure.
so and they're having a hard time adapting
It
to it
depends
too.
where.
You
It
know,
depends where, Andy. It
but
depends
so
My
where in
issue is not
Europe.
with the Americanization of it, but it's that they've done it on the field to make the product different.
Yeah,
This they haven't. The World Cup just feels like now it just feels like one big commercial. So like that, I feel like that's the difference, right? Where it's being promoted more as the Super Bowl of soccer than as the World Cup.
yeah, I
So
agree.
I think that's where the disconnect between like North again, it's not just American culture, it's North American culture as a whole, right? And the way the rest of the world sees sports are two very different things.
yeah. So we're definitely gonna see how that turns out. So all their proclamations and all the excitement, because in 24 days, guys, it's gonna be there, and we're gonna see the stadiums if they're full, they're packed, how the ratings go. We're gonna see it. All right, so let's move on to the team that the ball is round is going to be covering during the World Cup, the Canadian men's national team. So on paper, the Canadian squad actually looks pretty strong, but the injury situation is starting to become a real concern heading into the World Cup. We're talking about key players like Alfonso Davies, Promise David, Moise Mombito, Sam Adekube, Ali Ahmed, Alfie Jones, and now the latest injury concerns involving Kamal Miller and Luc de Fougerolles. I always mess up his name. How serious is this injury crisis for Canada, Elias? And at what point does the depth chart maybe start becoming a problem?
The depth chart is already a problem. It's been a problem for for years now because of these injuries. I can't remember the last time that they had no injury concerns with regards to their starting 11 and their depth chart. So again, this is more par for the course. The problem now is it's at a much bigger scale because you're getting starters and subs injured. And this is the big one. This is not just a once in a generation opportunity. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to get to do your World Cup right. Canada's not going to get another World Cup for a while. So now you're kind of stuck with we have no option but to succeed here. And these injury concerns are just adding more pressure and adding more fuel to what happens if they mess up, right? Because now with let's call a spade, a very favorable group draw. All the pressure is not just on Canada to qualify, but for them to win the group, if not be very close to winning the group against Switzerland
Yeah,
is no one to
I
know
don't think
because
they'll win the group, but yeah,
but that's the thing, right? There's a lot more pressure now. So with all these injuries to very important players, now it just makes their life even more difficult and it adds all this pressure because all the eyes now are being like, oh my God, how are you going to win without Alfonso Davies? But you're supposed to win. So if you don't win, it's a failure. Is it Alfonso Davies' fault? Is it, Promise David's fault? Is it like the Fougerolles? Like again, so all this depth is going to be an issue. It's a bigger World Cup as well. There's going to be one, again, assuming, in theory, you go all the way to the final, it's one extra game because it's an extra elimination round, which means your depth is even more important. So I think that, it's very concerning, especially because it's not a knock for a lot of these guys, right? You're leaving the game injured, and there's a lot of unknown results yet. But Alfonso Davies being, out for a month a week ago, which means he's going to be fit for game one, maybe game two, maybe he comes off the like again. All these questions just serve to distract you from the football. That's where the bigger problem is because now instead of answering questions about how the team's doing and how the lineup is looking, you have to answer questions about is your captain going to be ready to start game one in Toronto in front of your home fans? No? Okay. Well, now you might get fired because you don't do well in the World Cup. And like again, this ça dégénère. So I think it's more an issue of a distraction than real squad impact.
yeah, and I want to add something about what you just said. We're talking about the depth, and Canada has been working very, very hard to add that extra quality, to add that depth. And you know what? They did very, very well. 4 years ago, even 2 years ago, we didn't have that much depth in the team. But right now, it seems like, you know, the sky is falling down on us in a way where everybody is getting injured. And we talked, the few players that you mentioned, Andy, those are players that are already injured, but you have a lot more that we didn't mention. Ralph Priso not being here. You have Sam Adekugbe that's not here. You have You have so many players that are not here. We heard Ali Ahmed getting injured, and don't forget all the players that are coming back from injury and don't have any match fitness. We can talk about Alistair Johnston just
Yeah.
coming back from injury and doesn't
Derek
have match
Cornelius.
fitness. Derek Cornelius that was in Marseille that went into Rangers didn't play in Rangers. You have so many players. Promise David should be back on time. It seems that he's ahead of schedule, but still, he hasn't played for a while, right? So that's very concerning. Yes, you have the two friendlies, but two friendlies, is it enough to find your fitness again? Is it enough to be at that high level? Because as you said, yes, on paper, the group might seem as a group that's that could be that we could beat people that countries that we could beat, but at the end of the day it's still very important countries that have a soccer culture, that have been together for a while. You can see with Bosnia has a strong team. People look at Bosnia and say, you know what, thank God we weren't able, at least we're going to avoid Italy. Yeah, but Bosnia is strong, man. Bosnia beat Italy, right? So we have to be careful about that. Qatar, I understand there's a lot of bad press around Qatar, but they're still a solid team too. They've been qualifying to the World Cup. I think it's their third World Cup in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the same time, like these countries have experience, and Switzerland is for me like way above our weight. But you never know. We can be good in that game too. So we need to be very prepared. And Jesse March has a huge task ahead of him to make sure that the team is prepared ahead of game one.
Yeah, and I just have a quick question for you guys. If Canada plays their first World Cup game tomorrow, how confident are you guys feeling about a win?
Oof.
Tomorrow,
Depends
as
against
in
who?
like, and with all the aforementioned people not ready.
Yeah. With the hand that you're dealt, are we feeling confident tomorrow?
It depends who
Yes.
you're playing against, right?
So Eli says yes. Hadi?
But who are you playing against?
Anyone in
Are
the
you
group.
playing? Are you playing
Peru,
Switzerland?
Peru. No, you're
Are-
playing some in Switzerland, sure.
Okay, Switzerland is the strongest team in the group. Okay, I wouldn't be confident, but if we're playing Qatar, I'll be confident.
Okay, Elias, you said yes. Hadi said no. Switzerland.
I'd be confident that they're still competitive. Obviously,
Yeah, exactly,
I
for
think
sure.
that with everybody fit, I'm inclined to say that they're as good, if not better, than Switzerland. Again, with everybody fit and with match fitness incorporated. But if we're talking about right now, you have to also remember, right? The midfield is fully fit. You have Tejan Buchanan, Jonathan David that are in good form. You have Derek Cornelius that again doesn't have necessarily a bunch of match fitness, but it is fully back from injury. Alistair Johnson is fully back from injury. Richie Larea has done good things with the national team and has shown to be
But he was
stubborn.
injured too. He was
He's,
injured,
Yeah,
right?
but he's back now, right? And
But yeah,
so
does he have the match fitness?
right, but I think right now I'm confident that this is a competitive side that can definitely challenge for the group without the laundry list of really important people. And again, right, this is the back line we're talking about. Luc de Fougerolles, who is, based on what Jesse Marsh has indicated through friendlies and the Copa America, is the third string, is the one right behind the starting two of Moise Bombito and Derek Cornelius. And you have Alfonso Davies, who is obviously unquestionably your best player and your starting left back. And so these are very important things that are missing. Sam Manakubi is a different story because Sam Manakubi has been struggling with injury for forever.
Yeah,
right? So he
now.
unfortunately hasn't had a consistent run in the national team since since before the last World Cup. So I think the stuff like that is a different story. Right?
I agree with you, but you need like your replacement on the left. You need a left back, someone that can play left. Yes, Richie Larea is usually a right back, and he's able to play left back.
Yeah,
but he's not as efficient as a left back as a right back, right? So, that's the big problem. If Alfonso Davies, let's say Alfonso Davies cannot make it to the World Cup, I don't think it's going to happen. But let's say he cannot make it. Okay, you have Larea, and who's the one behind him? You have nobody. You have Zoran Bassong.
Used to playing.
You have Zoran Bassong.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. You also have Mathieu Chonière that can play left back, according to some coaches.
Oh man,
So,
yeah.
what about the goalkeepers, though? Who should be Canada's number one right now? Maxime Crépeau or Dane Sinclair?
Uh,
I think it's Dane
listen,
Sinclair's net
it's
to lose, man. Honestly,
huh?
I think it's his net to lose. Dane Sinclair's. He's been
Really?
more consistent this year. I know Jesse Marsh loves Maxime Crépeau, but I think he's been more consistent. They've gone head to head a bunch of times, and Dane Sinclair's come out looking much better. And even if
Not
they,
in the last
even if
game.
even yeah, the last game, but the last game was 4-3. No goalie looked better. Let's be honest here.
No.
But
Crepeau made like some serious saves in that game.
yes, but again, when the game is 4-3, right?
Yeah, but still, he made like it could have been like 10-4
Yes,
without
but
him.
right now I think it's Dane Sinclair's net. I just think he has the
Yeah.
momentum. I think he has the past performances as well. And Maxime Crépeau, you gotta remember, Maxime Crépeau got benched by another Canadian national team member. So I think that's very important because it's a direct comparison day in, day out.
Another.
Right? It's not, once in a blue moon where they meet and they face off every day, and then the coach says, I like your teammate instead of you. So I think, right, national teams is a different story, and Maxime Crépeau has been a legacy starter since Milan Borjan left. But for me, it's Dane Sinclair.
Yeah, I'm very yeah, I'm not really sure who I would choose. I think that Dane Sinclair is really nice with better in his distribution, 100%. But I think that as a shot stopper, Max Crepeau is better. As someone that controls his area, he's a lot better. Um, the problem is they're very hard to judge because they're playing, in teams where their defense are really bad.
Yeah.
Orlando's defense is bad, and Miami's defense is super bad. So, like, it's hard to tell them to look at them and say, this one is better than the other one, but because like it seems that they don't have any defenders in front of them, right? So I don't know. I think he will go with experience, and I think the experience is for Max Crepeau because on the world stage in that competition, you're gonna need a lot of experience, and you're gonna
Yeah.
need someone that has played big competition as number one. And I think Max Crepeau has the nod in front of Dane Sinclair. But what's positive about it is that either or, you're not losing a lot of quality. If you choose Sinclair or you're choosing
No.
Crepeau, you have two very good goalkeepers. And that's very interesting for the Canadian national team.
I think there's
So-
no wrong answer right now. Like,
Yeah.
there's no obvious answer, and I don't think there's a wrong answer where if one messes up, everyone's like, you should have put Crépeau. Well, no, it's too close to call.
And that's a good problem to have. Honestly, I like
Yeah.
Maxime Crépeau's distribution against CF Montreal. I thought he was on point with his distribution. It was incredible. But we'll see, right? And then there's also the fight for the third goalkeeper spot. I want to know, guys, who gets the spot? Tom McGill, James Patemis, or Owen Goodman? Who are you guys trusting between the posts if Canada had to play tomorrow as a third goalkeeper, though?
I don't know.
Hard,
Like
man.
they made a considerable effort to get Owen Goodman to sign on to the national team project, and he's 22. Next World Cup, you could reasonably see him starting, right? He's going to be in his prime, and so I understand that's an investment you want to make in the future and kind of want to build some goodwill with your most promising young keeper. But James Pantemis, for me, it's so unfortunate because of the fact that he's been so good for so long and injuries have stopped him from really getting a foothold in the national team. I still maintain that he's the best of the three.
Yeah, I agree.
I still maintain that between him, Crépeau, and
Just because
Sinclair,
he's Greek, that's why, huh?
No. Hey.
you have no proof. But we're talking about distribution. He's the best distributor by far of the three of them, and his shot stopping has improved considerably since he left Montreal. And again, right, we're talking about that goalie, that unknown goalie that who was not named, that benched Maxime Crépeau. That's James Pantemis
Why is he
during
so mad?
for a year
Why
and
is
a
he
half.
so
Me?
angry, man?
I'm not mad. I'm genuinely I'm heartbroken for James Pantemis because he
Because he's
has
Greek.
no because
the West
through
Island.
injuries and most of them being no fault of his own, he's put himself in a position where whether it's at CF Montreal or it's with the national team, he just keeps on getting put aside for reasons other than his talent.
Yeah.
So I think that Owen Goodman's going to get the call, but I think that James Pantemis should get the call.
Yeah, I'll just answer very quickly. Elias, I agree with you 100% about James Pantemis. The problem is, every time James Pantemis had the opportunity to shine in a big game, he blew it. And that's the problem. And that's the reason why he's behind those two. And we saw it at CF Montreal. We remember that free kick where he didn't put the wall the right way. We remember, all the fumbles that he made, and always in very important games. Yes, he's been good. He's been consistent. He's been very good. Yes, I understand. And, when you look at his performances day in, day out, yes, he could be the number one for Canada. But whenever there's a big game and he needs to be on his best behavior, unfortunately, I don't know if it's the pressure. He's just unlucky, maybe. But he's never been there on the big games. And that's what's missing in James Pantemis' career.
I agree with you on that, but let's also talk about the role of the third keeper, right?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's expecting James, but again, barring massive injury crisis, I don't think anyone's expecting James Pantemis to play a minute if he goes.
Nobody sees the third goalkeeper.
His experience and his quality is a different story because he sees things better and he brings another dynamic. So it's more just like, do you want the experience to help the goalie room, or do you want to integrate the young player that you envision having in the nets at your next World Cup?
I agree with you. I would go with Goodman. The reason why is that you have the experience with the first two goalkeepers. You don't need a third experienced keeper. You have Crépeau that's seen it all. You have Sinclair that's like 28, 29 now. So I think we're good on the experience side and goalkeeper. You need to prepare for the next one, and I think Owen Goodman is having the nod, in my opinion.
How dare you guys say that nobody remembers the third goalkeeper? I remember Pepe Reina. Okay, third goalkeeper. Shout out to Pepe Reina.
What about Jason DeTulio Award winner Sebastian Breza? Huh?
Oh, how dare
you! He was the second goalkeeper.
No, last year he was a third goalie for most of the year.
True. Yeah, true.
Okay, third goalkeepers matter. All right, so let's go ahead and finish up the top. Let's finish up the topic. All right, there's going to be maybe a few surprise names that force their way into the conversation before the major tournament. Who would be this year's unexpected addition to the Canadian roster? Could it be someone like Zorhan Bazong, Jason Russell Rowe, Jaden Nelson, Daniel Jebison, or Jaquil Marshall-Rutty stepping up at the perfect time? Maybe a young defender like Jamie Knight-Level makes a late push, or could there be a dark horse pick like Luca Petrasso sneaking into a squad because of the injury situation? Luca Petrasso, my man. What do you guys think? Is there any surprises? How do y'all start with you?
Yeah, honestly, you're laughing about Luca Petrasso, but honestly, I love this guy. I love the way he's playing.
Can't cross.
I think he's very consistent. He can't cross. Okay, yeah, I understand. But if you're playing with Alistair Johnston on the right, you're okay. You don't need him to cross. You're gonna have Alistair Johnston play as a winger, and you're gonna be okay. Or Richie Larea, even better. So I wouldn't say Luca Petrasso as an answer, but I like his odds in a way where there's no left backs in the Canadian national team, and that's the biggest problem. Now, I would choose Jason Russell Rowe, and the reason behind that is that he's been playing in Ligue 1, and I think he scored maybe 2 goals this year since he joined in the winter. Honestly, he's been very, very good. Of course, he wasn't good in every game, but playing in Ligue 1 and still being able to have some starts and being able to go on the field and score some goals in a very surprising team of Toulouse, I think that's experience that you're going to want as a third string or fourth string striker in your squad, because you're going to be able to get that player on the pitch and make sure that you have some quality up front, even if it's the third or the fourth striker in the team. And I think that you're going to need. And you look at the other strikers, not a lot of them have a lot of confidence right now. And I think Jason Russell Rowe is good for the team, but also for the future because he's still young. And I think next World Cup he should be able to make it to the squad too. So that's good experience for him too.
Nice.
I look, Jane Russell Rowe is kind of the obvious answer because of how competitive. No, but okay. I can't agree with you now. Okay, all right.
I'm joking.
Because of just how competitive the attacking situation is in general, right? And how set in stone some positions are, especially when you look at wingers. What I think is more interesting right now, you mentioned Jamie Knight Lebel, but you know, the whole left back situation in general is very weird because of the fact that Alfonso Davies is a huge question mark. I think that Zoran Basang, who has improved significantly since he left Montreal, since he came back from Romania, is looking like a completely different kind of player. I think that his inclusion is almost assured now. I think he's gone over Samara Kubi just out of reliability and youthfulness. And again, I don't think he's going to get too many minutes, but this is somebody that wasn't even thought of in the national team conversation even like 5 years ago, and now all of a sudden was called up for the friendlies. And I saw him, the way he carries himself, he looks like he belongs. Absolutely. So
The
I don't I
problem,
don't think
yeah.
I don't think he's
The
getting any
problem that I
minutes
have with
because
Basong, yeah,
yeah.
he's been injured too. And he just came back on against Portland when they lost 6-0, Kansas City. He came back for like 30 minutes. So he hasn't he's only been back for for maybe 10 days now. And that's the thing that worries me a bit. Yes, he's been in and around the national team, which gives him that look. Yeah, 100%. But he's in a team where Kansas City is not doing well. Even if they had some two positive results, the last two games they won 2 games in the last 2 games. Yes, they did. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he got injured at the wrong time. I think Zoran Basang, but he might be the one that's chosen. I'm not disagreeing with you, Elias. I'm just playing the devil's advocate. That's all.
Well, because when you look at the rest of the roster, right, or the potential roster, you look at the attackers, right? Promise David, who, like you said, is ahead of schedule. Everyone
Yeah.
else is fit. When you talk about having multiple strikers that are ready, I don't think Daniel Jebison. I mean, Daniel Jebison may be included, but even
I
at
don't
that,
think
he's
so.
going to be so low on the depth chart that I don't think he's going to see the field. I was not super impressed with what I saw from him
Me neither.
when he
I was
came on as a sub.
disappointed.
I don't see what he brings above Taniolo Sehi, above Promise David, above even Kyle Aaron, who I've made my stance on Kyle Aaron very clear, but hey, he's still scoring in England. And if you need an experienced guy in the dressing room, he's there, right? But also you look at the wingers, you have multitudes on both sides
Yeah.
now. There's just no room, and the midfield is arguably Montreal, arguably Canada's deepest position on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you include Nico Seeger, who we haven't talked about yet, who can also play in the six, I think that there's no other room, and that's why when you look at who's on the bubble of getting in, it's only defenders because fitness and also just sheer competition.
We do have
No,
a question in the
yeah.
chat before we get into it. Before we finish off the topic already. So, LP Habs fan that tells us, "Evening, gents. Evening, LP Habs fan. Been a while since we're talking about the left side. Where do we stand on Maritime Messi being on the team? Jacob Schaffelberg. Heidi, I like your reaction. What do you think of?
Listen, it's maybe the player that I love the most in the Canadian national team. I love those players that are just here and just give their all. And this is what Jacob Schaffelberg is. The problem is Schaffelberg, he's been injured too.
He's too
And
yeah.
and he's been back just recently with LAFC, but he hasn't been as I think he started just 2 games since beginning of April. Yeah, I'm looking at the stats right now. 2 games since the beginning of April. 4 times where he came in, only 32 minutes, 22 minutes, 31 minutes, 13 minutes. Last game on the 17th against Nashville, he wasn't even in the squad. Um, you know, I think he will still be chosen because he has that ability to, if he's fit, he has that ability to
Mhm.
bring that energy and dynamism in a on the pitch. I think you can have that, but at the same time, in my humble opinion, you have another player that can play that role in Liam Miller. And if Liam Miller is here, I don't see the need for Jacob Schaffelberg to be here too. But I don't think he would be surplus to requirements if he is chosen to. So I'm on the fence for Schaffelberg depending on his fitness. But again, it's crazy how much injuries we have and how much players we have that are not fit. It's just crazy. I've never
Some
seen
would
that.
Yeah.
some would say it's like Toronto FC situation. All right, Lice. So what do you think about Jacob
But
Scheffelberg?
what?
Sorry,
Never
Jacob
heard about that
Scheffelberg
team.
on the team.
Look, I'm kind of in the same boat as Hattie. I think that he brings something very special. And look, we love a Grinta merchant at the ball is round. Let's be honest here, right?
Mm.
He's gonna run his heart out. Even if you give him 5 minutes, he's gonna run for 5 minutes. Like it's his only 5 minutes left in his career. So I really like that about him. But you just look also from a technical perspective, and you look at, you know, Tejan Buchanan. You look at Jason Russell Rowe. You look at Marco Flores. You look at Ali Ahmed. You even look at Junior Hoylett, who's doing all right in Swindon. And like you mentioned, Liam Miller, right? That's just too many people he has to get past to even get considered. And I think right now you have too many wingers that again are fit, are fully fit. Even Liam Miller, who came back from an ACL injury and is arguably playing better. I was kind of done with Liam Miller with the national team. I didn't like what he brought, and it's almost like the ACL injury reactivated, something within him because whether with the national team or with Hull City, he's looking much better and he's looking quicker somehow because usually the ACL, your explosiveness is done, but he looks just as spry and he looks like he's really taking to life after it very well. So right now, unfortunately, as much as I love Jacob Schauberg and as much as the Copa America was kind of his coming out, he hasn't really done anything since, unfortunately, through injury and just, not really getting that many minutes. And I don't see him getting called up.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We cannot wait for that special episode on all the major networks. By the way, on the 29th of May, where Jesse March will give his rosters for the World Cup. It's going to be amazing. At the same time, of course, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it next week too. We're going to talk about the Canadian national team. We're going to cover the Canadian national team because, this is the ball is round, guys. This is
What
this
else
is
we
what
gonna
we
do?
do.
It's
This
what we
is what
do,
we
baby.
do. This is what we do. So, but before we dive into the clubs, the other Montreal clubs, because we have like 3 Montreal clubs to talk about, we have a quick little message for you, my friends. If you like the ball is round, just make sure you hit that like button. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Subscribe to the channels. We are here. We need your support. This is something that we need from you. We're not asking for money because our podcast is always going to be free. This is
Speak for
something.
yourself. I'm
This
asking
is
for money.
we're not asking for their money. Now, if you want to give us money, we don't mind. But no. But honestly, this podcast is always going to be free because we do it for fun, right? But at the same time, we need to make sure that this podcast is up and running, and we need to make sure we have those likes, those hits, those retweets, or whatever. So we need you to be involved in making that podcast grow. So that's what we need from you. And at the same time, if you want to follow us, each one of us on X or Blue Sky, just feel free to go follow us. We're here for that. We try to share some content whenever we have time. And that's it. So yeah, you will have always hear updates for the Canadian national team, CF Montreal, Roses FC, Super FC du Québec. This is the place to be. So we're counting on you guys.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, we're out here. So next up, we're gonna move on to Roses FC. Roses FC faced Calgary Wild for the second time already this season, battling through a snowy conditions. You guys saw that game, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked cold in Calgary, and ultimately coming away with a draw. After opening the season with 3 straight clean sheets, goalkeeper Anna Karpenko finally conceded for the first time this season, allowing 2 goals in a tough road environment. And while picking up a point away from home is not bad, guys, we've talked about draws being okay. This one felt a little bit, I don't know, maybe it's me, but it felt a little bit like a loss. Like two points kind of got away from Roses there. Especially with the picture that Hattie, I know you disagreed that it wasn't the right angle. I think that goal should have been offside. I really strongly believe that last goal. I think it was a controversial ending. I replayed it. I try to get the right angle, guys. Honestly, it's not easy because you're kind of playing back, but it did. If you repeat the clip over and over again, there's no way you convince me that that's not an offside in the last goal that made it.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced that it's offside either.
Love referee.
It's a bad angle. I agree with Andy. I think it was offside, but you know what?
You don't have
nothing you could do about it now. Nothing you could do. Somebody get the challenge.
They need cards. Get them the cards.
Absolutely not.
So they can challenge the challenge.
Under no circumstance.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the lineup of the game. So, as I mentioned, at goalkeeping, we had Anna Karpenko. At the back three, we had Lucy Capadonna, Stephanie Hill, Anne-Marie Seto, Cherim Kang as the right middle, Charlotte Bibot, Chloe Minas in the middle, and Megan Sauvé on the left. We had Tanya Boychuk and Lisa Pechersky at the top with Evelyn Bennett at the top 9. Elise
Bennett.
So, no, we have Badu, right?
Yeah, Badu.
All right, so overall, what were your thoughts of the game? I'll give mine first because
for sure
I watched actually the 2 games because last week we didn't have a pod, so I had to watch both games, Calgary and Toronto, right, which was a victory. I thought they were great games. I thought Montreal did Rose FC did a fantastic game of at least in Toronto. In Calgary, though, there's one player that kind of stands out, and we'll talk about it a little bit when we talk about the our top and our flops. But there's certain players that to me are starting to kind of struggle, and it's becoming very obvious. And I saw it a lot in Calgary, the Calgary game, where it felt like we saw Tanya Boychuk struggling. We saw Charlotte Bibot that seems to maybe be losing a step, in my opinion. But I also felt like maybe Robert Rossitoyu didn't adapt his tactics at Calgary properly because it felt like a lot of the passes, the long passes especially, were kind of dribbling off the field. And there's 2 teams there, right? So Calgary also had to play in those conditions. And it just felt like there were a lot of turnovers due to that, due to the conditions. And I just felt like maybe they should have tightened the game up a little bit and not make it such a long passes because it really felt like it wasn't working throughout the game. I really like what I saw from because they did score those goals and it was fantastic. They were leading to the 1-0 the whole time, and then Calgary came back. But overall, I do think that teams are adapting to how Robert Rossitoy likes to play, but at the same time, it's one of those things that we mentioned how excited we were to see Robert Rossitoy's tactics and how he worked on them during the first games. This time around, I felt like he didn't adapt properly. So that's what ultimately led to Roses FC struggling. And also his substitutions, in my opinion, were a little bit late. I thought he should have subbed out Tanya Boychuk much earlier because I felt like she was struggling a lot in this game. And so was Chloe Minas. Now, I don't know if Laurie Thibault is necessarily the best substitute in that case with Chloe Minas. But yeah, I'll let you guys give your take on that. And then we'll talk about the top performer and flop. Hadi, what do you think of the game against Calgary?
Honestly, I thought that the team didn't match the intensity of their opponent. And that's what worries me. Now, at the same time, it's kind of understandable. I think that the team has been winning. They won the first 3 games to start the season. I think it's a matter of just being a bit overconfident. I think it's all mental. They were a bit overconfident, and when they were able to score that first goal, they're just a bit sad on it. Yes, they had a couple of chances, but I didn't think they had the fire in their belly to really put it in the back of the net because of mentally. I think there was a mental problem at that point, maybe overconfidence, as I said. And as soon as they scored the second goal, again we saw that overconfidence because they were able to draw like a few seconds later, Calgary. So I think don't forget that it's the second time already that the Roses play Calgary in Calgary.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought, but we beat them the first time 2-0, and now we're winning 1-0, so it's in the pocket. I have that feeling that it was only mental because at the same time, when you look at the performance, like individually, like as a team, that was clearly a problem. But when you look at the performances individually, you don't have players that had a very bad game. You can't really point a player and say, it's because of her. Mm-hmm. It's just a mental problem, I think. Overconfidence.
You wouldn't point that game at Tanya Boychuk and struggling on the left side?
Not really, because she was still able to get chances. Don't forget that she hit the bar in that game.
She missed a wide open net.
Yeah, but she still hit the bar too by dribbling two players and shooting. Like at that point, she will always, like, all strikers are gonna miss an open net. Like this is something that could happen to anyone.
Right.
But at the same time, how do you react to that? And she reacted by still being able to be creative. And that's, for me, I'm okay with that. If someone just reacts and say, you know what, I suck because I missed an open net, this I have a problem with. But this is not what Boychuk did.
Okay. Elias, what were your thoughts overall of the game?
I think this is the first time all season that I saw the Roses from last year. Specifically the Roses that ended last year. Because like Hadi said, and like we saw a lot of the times towards the end of the season when they weren't getting the results they needed, nobody played horribly. Nobody had a bad game. They were just very much deserving of a draw because they did not do enough against a team. Let's be frank here. Against Vancouver has struggled, but against the worst team in the league, I think Vancouver won. Are they still playing?
They're
winning against Halifax.
It's 2-1 right now.
So against not only eye test, but now in terms of standings as well, the worst team in the league, and it was disappointing because of how good they were to start the season. If you copy paste this game into last year, it blends in completely. But the team took significant steps forward. So I think that's where all the disappointment is coming from. Now, I think they're done with going to Calgary. I think they've already done their two away games. So exactly. Thank God, because
it's always tough to go play in Calgary.
So just watching.
It's always tough, but even the field, like it's always
it's not a good field. McMahon Stadium is a mess. It's been like that forever, and so I think they're also kind of grateful that they don't have to go back to Calgary anymore.
And they got 4 points there, which is
they got 4 points. They should have 6.
Yeah,
but again, right when. As long as they take this as a wake-up call and not a speed bump, because very quickly this can kind of become a problem pattern. So I hope they take this more as the shot in the arm that they need to kind of re-enable this consistency instead of just going like, it's fine, it happens. It does happen, but you now have to take every step possible to make sure it doesn't happen again, because this is I put this on par with when they lost to Halifax earlier in the season last year, where it's like this should not be happening under any circumstances. Exactly. They're too good to allow this to happen.
That's my question for you, Elias. Don't you think that last season the Roses would have lost that game?
1,000,000%.
Thank you.
And you know what else they would have done? It would have been completely self-inflicted.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? It would have been something it would have been a mistake. It would have been a lapse in community. It would have been some kind of error that they caused that would let them lose the game. So you talked briefly about the Toronto game. I think that the Toronto game was impressive in the mentality because that was a champions game. Yeah. Because they didn't do a whole lot, but they did everything they needed to match up with Toronto. They picked their moment and they were decisive. That was excellent. But this game here, they were complacent for way too long in the game. They could have killed the game off a dozen times before the 85th minute when Calgary equalized. So I'm now concerned that, I'm not concerned because we have to see how they respond. But this now sets the stage for the first real mentality test of this team. I also want to add that I'm thrilled that we're talking like this over a draw.
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Same,
That's
same.
the standard over the first few games. That's the standard that they've set for themselves. That we're
Yep.
like, oh my god, this can't happen again over a 2-2 draw on the road. Which last year would have been like, you know what? They got a point. This year, unacceptable because of how good the turnaround has been. So I'd like to look back at this game in 2 months and go, oh, remember when that happened? Instead of being like, oh, that's when the wheels started falling off.
But this is a similar conversation, regardless of the talent of the field. This is the similar conversation we're having last year about what does Robert Rosatoy do to adapt when something is not working? Because the attack wasn't working. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't working, and clearly Calgary was playing a more physical game than Roses are used to. Roses are used to more
Yeah.
passing, technical game and all that. Calgary was there to beat you up. They were there, and I think they did it in the CPL against Super 2. They were a very physical team, and I just felt like they didn't really. Bonsoir, Maxime. And
Hey,
so
Max.
we're I just want to see Robert Russell adapt to those games. How do we change it? How do we prepare? And if it doesn't work, how do we change it so that we adapt to the physicality of the game? Evelyn Badu, she's a physical player. She's the kind of player that I would have wanted to start this kind of game because she brings that physicality. I was actually thinking about it. I did not look at the stats, okay? But I was watching this game and I was like, have Roses FC ever picked up a penalty? I don't remember from last season.
Last year, I think they have one.
Was it Latif Abdou that took it? I don't remember them taking a penalty. And I actually saw the reason why I started wondering was because the few minutes Evelina Abdou got at the end, Badu got at the end, was she was actually trying to pick up penalties in the box 2 or 3 times. And I was like, well, that's what this game needs because Calgary is being physical. And so I just hope that moving forward, Robert Rasatori can, either change the players that he chooses to play those kind of games or change the scheme or the approach so that they can actually be more competitive and come out with a win
You
against
know
a team
what,
that's
Andy?
difficult.
I agree with you with the physicality 100%. But at the same time, I think Robert Resitoyu did make a change. And don't forget, he was able to bring Munyard on the pitch. And she made a whole big difference.
She was a ball of energy, yeah.
Yeah, she first of all, she scored a goal. Unfortunately, she missed that header. Like for
Sideways.
me, oh man, I was like, how can you miss that?
That's
No, I
almost
don't
as
think.
bad as Tanya Boychuk's minutes. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah.
No,
It's
but
got to
like,
at least be on target there. Yeah.
yeah, but like at the same time, she brought that energy. Guys, don't forget, she came in at the 86th minute. She scored a goal and had a great chance. Like that's in 5 minutes or 6 minutes. She was able to have two great chances. So at one point, I agree with you. The physicality was there, and we should have had maybe a bit more physicality. Maybe I would have liked to see Mbala in that game. That's kind of a player that I would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need that physical player to come in, but at the same time, I think Rositoyu did a good thing by putting Munyard and had the flair to put Munyard and get that second goal. Because as I said a bit earlier, for me, that game last year would have lost it 2-1 for sure.
100%. It's also
For sure.
important to remember that like when we started being really impressed with Claire Monnier was when she was coming on as a sub.
Yeah.
Because she provided that. I feel like her game took a bit of a dip when the injury started happening and Latif Abdou left and she was stringing multiple games together. And then it felt like she had a tough time growing into the game. But her coming into a game that's already set and kind of changed the dynamic because she's such a powerful player, I think is much more suited to her style of play. And again, right, she came in, she had an immediate impact. Last year when she came on as a sub a couple times, immediately she stood out. And then, because of the lack of options up top, she ended up starting. And I think there's maybe some parts of her game that maybe are not suited to full 90s. But for a half-hour sprint, I really like what she brings. And again, she proved it again.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next part. So I want you guys to tell me who was your top performer and who didn't quite meet the expectations in that game. Now, I will say something, okay, before we get into that. And I know Elias did not agree with me.
Oh,
But Haley Whitaker comes
Ay,
in on
ay,
the
this guy.
73rd minute. There's two goals that are scored by Calgary starting on the
I
85th
knew you were gonna
minute.
say this.
Where do these attacks come from? Do they come from the left? Do they come from the middle or the right?
Both were from Haley Whitaker's side. Yes,
And she defended them terribly. Okay,
I
her stop.
disagree.
I disagree.
I
I disagree.
disagree.
I
I
disagree
look
too.
in the first goal. I'll admit she could have done more to make the cross to make the player who played the cross in her life more difficult. But I think Lucy Capadonna gets pushed off the ball way too easily.
That too. But the
So
cross
again,
should have
I
never happened.
don't blame Haley Whitaker. I think that's a team effort, as is the case with most goals. I think that Anna Karpenko doesn't react quickly enough. I think Lucy Capadonna gets pushed off the ball too easily. I think that Haley Whitaker doesn't close down her player quickly enough. But it's also important to remember that that goal happened from a turnover, and Haley Whitaker had a 1v4. And I went because we had this conversation, and so I went back to watch the goal because I knew you were going to say some shit. She had to deal with a 1v4 in the build up to that cross.
Yeah,
So she
yeah. I
literally
watched
had
it too.
no good option. So she closed down the middle of the field and then went out
Yeah,
because that's all she could do. By then, the
she
cross
had the
came
right
in and then the goal
reflexes.
happened. The second one, she was the assignment wasn't even hers for the player that got the ball to cross in because Sito was covering, and then the player was, I mean, offside, onside, whatever. Again, I'm not going to blame her for not marking a cross in the middle of the box because that's just not her job. So I concede to you that both goals came from her side of the field, but I'm not going to point out Haley Whitaker is at fault for either of them.
Yeah, same.
The moment she came in, Calgary starts attacking her side right away because they know
Yeah,
that
but
the defense disappears when
yeah,
she's on
but
the field.
Andy, the context is also important, right? Because if Chloe Minas doesn't lose the ball in the middle of the field, it's not a 4-1 the other way on the first goal.
Okay,
In the
agreed.
second
And they
goal,
had terrible games, by the way, the midfield. And we'll talk about that in a second.
in the second goal, everybody switched off. Offside or not.
They were celebrating.
Okay,
It
one
was-
sec. So if I understand correctly, Andy, this is the flop for you. Whitaker is the flop for you, right?
No. I just wanted to point out.
Oh my
that really-
gosh.
She's
How
not even
long-
the flop.
shit,
You're blaming
just beefing
blaming
for
two
no
goals on
reason.
her. You're blaming 2 goals on her,
I'm on my
and you're
phone
saying
I'm gonna
it's
start
not your
playing games
flop.
after
So
you guys
there's
are done
worse.
with this. Listen, I just wanted to point out that I really do think that her stock has fallen this year. I don't know if she's regressed. I don't know if she's not adapting well to the scheme. I saw her play against Toronto. Did not like her game at all. And then she was benched against Calgary. And she just had those few minutes. And the 2 goals happened on her side. So you can blame it on everybody around. And it's true. I'm not saying you're wrong in that. But there is something to be said that the attack keeps going that way when she's on the field. Because the defense is sloppy when she's on there. And she doesn't help in any way, in my opinion. I'm not saying she's the worst player in Rose FC, but it worries me how much her game has regressed from one year to the next in that position.
I'm going to tell you why the attack is going that way. Because you have on that same side, you have Pechersky that's always, on the offensive. You have Chang Rim, that's Che Rim, sorry, that's unfortunately, physicality is not really her strong suit. So at the same time, it's very easy to go and focus on that side. If you're a physical team,
and Sito's not a natural center back.
She's a
and
med-
And
Sito is
Valerie
not a
Sito
natural.
is naturally a 6. On the other side, you have Megan Sauvé and Stephanie Hill.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Locked down.
And no one can beat Stephanie Hill.
But that's also why I'm not concerned, because Robert Rosatoyu understands the trade-off, because Anne-Valérie Sito and Haley Whitaker or Chirim Kang, whichever one is playing wingback in the game, with the ball is much more dynamic. They're able to combine. We've seen Anne-Valérie Sito step up into the midfield with the ball when she wins it and carry it, and that's just a different dynamic. So I think the fact that it's 3-back allows them to do that, but it also is the trade-off, right? If Lucy Capadonna wins for her 50-50, then we're not sitting here talking about it, right? That's going to happen. My issue is more with the offensive side of the ball. If they concede 2 goals, 1 or 2 goals a game with this current formation and the current philosophy, I'm fine. They just need to fill the end of the net.
All right. So let's get into it. Just wanted to mention that. My top performer of the night And I'll say this because I also saw, like I mentioned, the Toronto game is Anna Karpenko. Yeah, she gave up those two goals, but my God, compared to the mistakes she used to make last year, to me has been a drastic step this season. I found that her performances are solid. I find that her performances, she's actually contributing to the team and she's saving them a lot of these shots.
Yeah.
There's a reason for the clean sheets the first three games, but obviously, like I mentioned, there were two goals that were given up. I don't blame it on her, but it was. I think that she's taken a real big step, and I saw it against Calgary again. The one that didn't quite meet expectations, I will say it. You guys mentioned it, Chloe Minas. I come to expect so much of her as a midfielder that she's, we've talked a lot of praises in this show about her skill level and her technical ability and the way that she goes around players. I just felt like she got completely eliminated in this game and couldn't find her game and created, as you mentioned, a lot of turnovers that constantly gave Calgary opportunities. And it's a little bit surprising. Maybe this wasn't the game for her to be played in, or maybe she should have been, subbed out a little bit earlier. But I definitely didn't like her game against Calgary. I thought I was expecting her to be more of a game changer, if you want. Heidi, I'll start with you.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not. I don't disagree with you at all with those two, but I chose different players. I would say Lisa Petresky as a top because man, she was involved in everything. Crosses, passes, goals, whatever. Like she was there at every dangerous offensive action for the Roses. So for me, Petresky, and I feel that she's really taking the game. To another level. Exactly. I
Yeah.
love it. Now, for me, I know it's not the first time that I talk about her, but Chirem, for me, whenever it gets physical, it's very tough for her. Very, very tough for her. And especially when she's wing back or when she's playing on the wing. I don't know. I didn't like her game at all. So I think she should have been substituted way before the 63rd minute. I really didn't like her game.
Elias?
My top is going to be Evelyn Badu. She came in, it was very brief, but
Yeah,
she has to start.
nice
She
impact.
has to start.
Yeah,
Look, we talked about how it was like an embarrassment of riches in that number 10 position to play behind the striker. Those two of them. Robert Rosatoyu has to start making some very tough decisions because Evelyn Badu is fantastic. Noemi Paquin has been very effective off the bench. Chirim Kang, who has been playing wingback, can also play in that 10 spot and is more than good enough. And in fact, arguably one of the best in that spot. So he has very tough decisions to make because my flop is Tanya Boychuk, right? And Tanya Boychuk is a captain. Tanya Boychuk represents our national team. Tanya Boychuk is, for all intents and purposes, one of the best players on the team. But there's
he
a
needs to do
lot of really
more.
good players. There's a lot of really good players in the team right now, right? And so I think it's a very difficult position he's in. It's a good position, but it's a very difficult position for Roberto Zatoyu because Tanya Boy one bad game, right? Tanya Boychuk was fantastic,
Yeah,
all season up until this game. But right now, the
Toronto.
competition is so tight. Toronto, everyone matched up really well. I think that's more. Yeah, so she wasn't fantastic. Nobody was fantastic, but everyone was good. Everyone was solid. Everyone was reliable. But again, Evelyn Badu steps on the field, incredible ball to set up the assist, to set up the goal. But now comes a situation where Robert Rosatoyu might have to sit one of his captains because one off game, there's two or three. There's not just one. There's two or three players behind you that are playing out of their minds that are deserving of a spot. So this competition is a good thing, but right now Tanya Boychuk has a lot of pressure on her. That's for sure.
I agree. And look, guys, go Habs, go! The game time is coming soon, so we're gonna go ahead and finish it off with CF Montreal. But just before we get into it, a quick shout out to our new partners at Impact Essentials. If you're looking to upgrade your daily routine, this is the place to do it. Impact Essentials is a Montreal-based premium grooming brand specializing in high-end all-natural beard care with some absolutely incredible scent profiles. We're talking coffee infused whiskey, tobacco and cognac, and more. It honestly turns your morning routine into a full-on ritual. And for those without beards, like myself, Don't worry, they've got a new line coming very soon. So make sure to follow their socials and stay tuned for that launch. Go show them some love at the impactessentials.ca. And don't forget to use our promo code TBIR to save 15% off your order. Every purchase helps support the show, and we truly appreciate it. That's promo code TBIR for 50% off your next order. And that's why Elias looks so beautiful now,
This playoff
because
beard
he's
has got
using
to go, man. It's
Impact
rough.
Essential. And Hadi, well, we're working on Hadi. All right, let's finish it up, guys, because we got
He's
Go
got a
Habs Go,
great
right?
beard.
So, CF
He doesn't like
Montreal.
my beard. He doesn't
Can I
like
get
what
through
I
my
post.
thing?
He doesn't like anything I do. It's like it's personal.
Nothing's
It's personal.
nothing's ever good enough for Andy. Oh my
No,
god.
man, Andy, what do you want me to do?
It's because it's a Marseille thing. CF Montreal
Oh.
suffered their first home loss under interim head coach Philippe
Asshole.
Lafroy, falling 2-0 to Chicago Fire FC. The defeat comes just days after a late draw against the Portland Timbers in midweek action. As the matches continue to pile up, guys, I think we're finally starting to get a much clearer picture of what Lafroy wants from his team, tactically, structurally, and mentally. And honestly, it's becoming really interesting. I find it very interesting to start dissecting what Lafroy sees from this team. There are definitely signs of progress in certain areas, but there's also some glaring issues that might be popping up for this team. Let's break it down. Go ahead, Elias, if you can show us the lineup for CF Montreal. So at the goal, we had Thomas Gillier. At right back, we had David Bogai. In the back four, in the back line, we had Jalen Neal, Brian Vera, and Luca Petrasso. In the midfield, we had Samuel Piet, Victor Lotori, Matty Longstaff. And in the front, we had Wiki Carmona, Prince Owusu, and Ivan Jaime, who, by the way, is going nowhere. And what were your thoughts of the game tell me, what were your thoughts of the game against on Saturday?
Against who, Andy?
I forgot. Like that.
Let's go.
I guess Chicago Fire.
Chicago had a very specific and very, I think, clear identity coming into this game. I don't think anyone was surprised. You absorb pressure, you use your very potent front three to hit back on the counter, and that's exactly what they did. And it really felt, we were talking about Rose's games that felt like last year. This was straight out of last season for CF Montreal because they dominated. They had all the chances in the world. They looked great. And
More structure than last year.
You take a goal against a run of play because you can't finish.
Yeah.
And then so you work for the next 40 minutes. You work hard. You build yourself back up. You continue to dominate. You create chances. And then you don't finish and you concede another one against a run of play. And all of a sudden, it's Marco Tonedal all over again. Because it really felt like it was 2025. I'm being dramatic. It's obviously not.
Yeah, you are being dramatic because for me, there's a lot more structure.
There are some differences, but again, when you look at the game as a whole and you look at the general script, if I had to give one sentence, it's eerily familiar because it wasn't just they're dominant, but they had trouble breaking down the low block in the first half. The second half was much better, but the first half was rough to see. And I think teams like Chicago have exposed this Piet Loturi Longstaff midfield because when you don't have the creative force in there, it gets significantly harder and you put more pressure on your creative players like Carmona and Jaime. So to do the heavy lifting of finding the half spaces, of being able to turn, of being able to really threaten a team that, again, credit to Chicago, who were very organized for the whole game, but they sat there and they said, give me your best shot. And for the first 45 minutes, if I'm Chris Brady, I'm leaning against my goalpost and having a cup of tea.
Oof. Okay. I'm not agreeing with you on a lot of those points, but no. First of all, what I agree with is the scenario of the game. The scenario of the game, I agree with you 100%, Elias. It felt like last year. I think that CF Montreal was structurally more in place than what we saw last year. I think that the 4-3-3 was the right choice. I think that the ball was still moving. They were creating chances. Unfortunately, there's two things that didn't work for CF Montreal. The first thing is that Prince Owusu was absent.
Yeah.
Like completely absent. I think that's the worst game that I've seen from Prince Owusu since I've watched CF Montreal. I'm not talking about Toronto. I'm talking about Prince Owusu with CF Montreal. I didn't like his game at all. For
No.
me, he was supposed to be subbed off at the 45th minute because in the first half he could have done a lot better with his runs, with anything. Like he did everything wrong. That's the first thing. The second thing, Chicago exploited uh, the right wing of CF Montreal. Like Bugai and Carmona were completely exploited during the whole first half. And the reason why is that they were using a lot of the width, Chicago. And unfortunately, the players didn't adapt to that. It happened so many times that the right hand side of the field was completely empty of CF Montreal player, and that's like disgusting. Honestly, Bugai, I know he has, I think, a role of going and slotting
In the
himself
mid.
in the midfield,
Yeah.
and that I understand. But in this game, he should have realized that wasn't the way to go. He should have realized that he needed to stay on that right hand side because every time he used to do that, there was a counter directly on the right hand side. Most of the attacks went from that side, and this is how they scored the first goal with a lucky bounce, unfortunately. Like, they were really unlucky on that first goal, CF Montreal, honestly. So, I don't think that the win of the Chicago win is deserved. I don't think they were better than us, honestly. I think this should have been a draw. It's just that CF Montreal was very unlucky. That's my opinion. They were very unlucky and unfortunately weren't able to adapt quickly to the way Chicago was playing.
And Chris
I
Brady
think-
once again proved that he is probably the most underrated goalie in the MLS.
I agree.
hate
I agree.
Brady.
I agree.
Brady, man.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate
he
it.
always
too,
has
but
an
he's good.
incredible game against Montreal.
Yeah,
No
he's
matter
good.
what, he always turns up. It's the Kai
But
Kamara of goalies, man.
it definitely was one of those games that it almost felt like Philippe Lafroy got outcoached
Yep.
in some way. That,
Yeah,
that he overthunk the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Chicago. I mean, you put Joel Waterman as your central defensive midfield,
And he played
against-
fantastic.
And
It
he
was a
did.
great
He's
pivot.
very good in the midfield. Guys, don't forget that it's his natural position. This is where he
And
used
he's
to play
super
in
reliable.
University.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
But it
super
just looks
reliable.
like Philippe Lafroy saw that and he was like, "Oh shit! Oh no! Oh, that's not. I wasn't planning
Yeah.
for that." So it was very confusing. Okay, let's finish it off. Top performer who didn't quite meet the expectation. It could be the coaches too or the subs. Heidi, I'll start with you.
You're starting with me. I wanted more
Let's start
time.
right there.
My top was Wiki Carmona. Wiki Carmona was the only one continuously trying new things, trying and working at the back line. I think he was excellent. He continues to be excellent. And right now, he's my season MVP. My biggest disappointment.
Luca Petrasso on the left.
Oh, no.
Bro.
No.
I didn't like his game, but there's definitely worse. There was
Yeah,
definitely
there's
worse.
a lot worse than
What
him.
about Victor Lotori?
I was gonna say Victor Lotori, but I settled on Ivan Jaime because again, it's the standard that we set for him.
Yeah.
It's
I
the
think he was
standard we set for him.
okay.
That's the problem.
Yeah, he should be more than okay.
He played okay in a game where he could have been excellent if he just pulled the damn trigger more often.
Yeah, but like, dude, I agree. But like, when you look at the game of Prince Owusu, you cannot say that the flop of the game is fucking.
Because you said Prince, and I didn't want to step on your toes.
Oh, you're so nice. Thank
So
you.
I'll leave Prince for you. For
For
me,
me-
Jaime was disappointing because again, this is the guy that's supposed to be decisive, whether for assists or goals or something, and I saw none of that on Saturday.
And we're going to be seeing a lot more of him. Heidi, who were your top and your flop?
Yeah, my flop is Prince Owusu. I already talked about it 100%. No, not good. Not good at all. Not good at all. It's hard for the top because I don't think that anybody really stood out. But I liked when Strike came in. I like the energy that he brought.
Yeah, 100%.
Not enough to be a top because, but for me, nobody was a top. But I liked what Strike brought. I think when he came in, something different was here. I like him as a starter. Honestly, I like Noah Strike as a starter.
really
I
like
understand that Carmona is better, but I feel he brings something. I understand that he's not very on point. Technically, sometimes he does the extra dribble, or he doesn't do the extra pass, or he tries something a bit weird. But the energy that he brings, I love it. So yeah, I would say Noah Strike.
Yeah, for me, top is Wiki Carmona. I'm gonna copy it because it's. I mean, he's honestly, guys. I'll be very honest. His run on that goal reminds me of Romel Kyoto. Like seriously, the strength and the speed that he uses to beat out 1v1, and then the way he misplaced.
Talking
You know,
about Portland, right?
yeah. Oh my god, I mixed
Okay,
up.
okay,
Yeah. Sorry
okay.
about that. But
I'm
anyways, he.
like, we didn't score any
Yeah,
goals.
sorry. Remember the goal, but so remember that goal. But it was so like I
Yeah.
feel like he's that
Yeah.
player that you don't he'll pop out of nowhere. You're not expecting him, and he'll randomly use his speed and strength to do something to the game. The flop, I mentioned it, Victor Lotori. Dude, he was doing so well when Philip Lefkoff first took over, and now I just feel like he's taking a step back. I don't know why. He's still playing the same position,
He's
but
just
it just
tired, man. He's just tired.
well then I don't know. I don't know what to do. But that last year it was the same minutes, and he was tired too, but he still produced well.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
I
just
can't
fitness,
wait. I can't wait for Amaya to be fit, because
he
this is
is.
gonna help a lot.
I,
No, no, no.
I wanted to bring this
He
up.
doesn't have match fitness yet.
Okay, but bring him on for 20 minutes.
He is fit.
I agree. He
That's
should
the
have
thing.
come
Like, is
20
he
minutes.
really so out of shape that he can't play 10, 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, no, I
Then
agree.
I'm very concerned.
12
I
minutes to
agree.
game
Because
time. We got to wrap it up. All right. So, FC Super de Quebec. They played
Yeah.
their just a quick take, guys, because they played that school
stinker.
day game, 11 a.m.
I
Full of
love
school.
that. I love that.
Oh yeah, it's a cool initiative, honestly. It
I
really is
love that
cool.
initiative.
But
I
that's
I
love
hope
it.
outside of
more.
the
I hope
field.
more CPL teams take that up.
Yeah, I hope Montreal will do that at one point. I think that would be
guys-
great. That would be great.
We're playing against Forge FC. Like Forge FC is not a
Yeah.
team that you mess around with. They're a team that of
Yeah.
the highest caliber. And Elias, go ahead and bring up the lineup that they brought out, because that was what the hell's happening. And at goalie we had Mili, Clement Bahia, the right with Charles Auguste, Kishan Ferdinand, and Delande. That's the new player that they signed, and Thomas Leboeuf
Yeah.
on the left back. Safwan Emla, Bungami making his first start in the middle, as well as Sissoko, and David Chouanière and Marcoux on the top. Yeah, you see that lineup against a Forge team. I don't know, guys. I'm a little messed up about it. Let's quickly give our takes about the game. Hadi, I'll
Like,
start with you.
okay.
Oh, go ahead, Alexa.
No,
Like
go
I
ahead,
understand
Elias,
that I understand that you had midweek game and everything like that, but you have no game for a week and a half after this. Squad rotation does not matter, especially when you're playing first place, especially when you're playing the best team in the league. So I feel like this is the first time where I'm not going to blame Nick Rizaki for the loss because the players still have to actually play the game. But I'm going to look at Nick Rizaki and say he played a major contributing factor in this loss because rotating the squad, I was talking with Hadi about this actually. I really like Delande and Leboeuf's game on that left side. I think they
Yeah.
both had a really strong
Leboeuf
game.
was great.
I was very impressed, but that's not enough for Forge. You already don't have Biello, so you don't play Rhea, you don't play Quimi, who's coming back from injury. Sure, you don't play Abzi.
I didn't get it.
Riyad Bey
didn't
is on
get
the
it.
bench, and he's been arguably one of the biggest surprises this season because of how good he's played. These are all players that have to start. You have the chance to send a message to the top already, Cavalry and Atletico Ottawa. You lost to them both, but you dominated them both. You played them off the pitch and you lost them 1-0. That happens, that's fine. You have to send the same message to Forge because that's the third in the big three, and that's the top dog. And you didn't. Instead, you said, you know what? If we lose, we lose. It's fine. That can't be the mentality, especially when you have a week and a half after this game. I don't care about squad rotation.
Not only that, Elias, don't forget that they played on Wednesday and the match before was on Friday. It wasn't Sunday. It wasn't Saturday.
you're right.
It was
It's 2
Friday.
extra
That was
days, yeah.
5 days. 5 days between one game and the other. So I understand that maybe the players are not really ready to the professional level where you have to repeat the efforts. Every week. I completely understand. But as you said, Elias, first of all, you have 5 days, and second of all, you don't have any games for 10 days now, for 15 days now. I don't know how many days, but
It was 10 days.
10 days.
We're
10 days
on the
now.
weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know why he did that. was he trying to be, did he find something in Forge FC's way of playing that he thought that he could counter? But unfortunately, we didn't see. I'm sorry, we didn't see shit in the first half.
Yeah.
Nothing. There was nothing on the pitch. Like nothing. Like I've never seen such a one-sided half than that game. And again, I love what Nick Razagi has done with the team. And I love what he's been doing since the beginning of the season. But we have to say that first half was maybe the worst we've seen for FC Super Rugby Quebec.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to be the worst half we're going to see all season.
Let's hope. Yeah.
Because
it better be.
No, I don't think you can go that low. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's
definitely
possible.
Can. It's a long season.
Let's hope not. But no, I don't think so. So I again, shout out to Nick Razagi. I think he's doing what he can, and maybe he tried something. Unfortunately, let's wake up and smell the coffee. That didn't work at all. So maybe not try again. Try that again in the future, unless you don't have a choice.
Before Elias closes it off, guys, what prediction do we have for the Habs game tonight? I got 3-2 Habs.
I'm too nervous.
Oh man, 3-2. Oh man, I hate game sevens, man. It's just
I don't feel so good.
It's so tough.
Go quick.
I'm going for a draw.
What? Dumbass.
Honestly,
seriously,
I'm gonna say
2-2 draw.
And then who scores in overtime?
That's not how draws work. It ends in a tie. Everyone gets a point.
How do you remove this person from the chat? Hadi, what's your prediction? Quick.
5-2 Habs.
Hey, let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna go 4-3 Montreal.
Let's go. All right, close up, Elias.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for episode 262 of the Balls Round podcast. The podcast will always be free. It will forever be free on every single platform. But we have a Patreon if you want to lend a hand, if you want to help us keep on doing what we're doing. We've also got a bunch of really cool goodies. We've got exclusives. We've got training notes. We've got early sneak peeks at interviews, videos, upwatch, all that cool stuff with experts from around MLS. And we're only going to get busier. CF Montreal may be taking a break after next week, but the World Cup is just getting started. This was part one of our preview. We're going to be talking even more in the coming weeks once the roster gets unveiled, once we get down and closer to June 12th, game 1 against Bosnia and Herzegovina, that fateful day where Canada finally gets home a World Cup match on home soil. But until then, we're still going to be bothering you guys with all the fun stuff from CF Montreal, from Rose FC, and from FC Super du Québec. Thank you again for joining us for episode 262. We will see you next week for episode 263 of the Balls Round podcast.